The old caretaker had warned me about this. He'd warned me not to go into the woods at night. He'd warned me that there were things out there that would kill me. But I hadn't listened. When I first arrived at Blackwood Manor, I'd been excited. Finally, I would have somewhere to call home. It was an old house, sure, but it was beautiful. And when my boss told me it came with a caretaker, I thought, perfect, someone to help me fix up the place. Then I met the caretaker. He was an old man with milky white eyes that seemed to look right through me. His name was Amos, or so he said it was. He never really introduced himself properly, and I kept getting the feeling that he wasn't supposed to be there, as if he was some kind of trespasser like me. He didn't talk much, but he did warn me about the woods behind the house. I was curious, so one day I went exploring. The woods weren't anything special. They were just trees. Still, Amos looked very relieved when I came back. "I told you not to go in there," he'd rasped, nodding towards the trees. "You should never go in there." After that, I stayed away from the woods. There was something about them that made my skin crawl. It took me weeks to unpack all of my things, but slowly I started to make the house feel like a home. There was even an attic filled with all kinds of junk. Then one day, I found a room that I'd never seen before. I don't know how I missed it the first time around, but here it was, hidden at the end of a long corridor. It was a small room, barely bigger than a closet, with 4 bare walls and no windows. On one side was a single door, but when I touched the handle, it was locked. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. So I sat down on the floor, leaned against the door, and closed my eyes. That's when I heard it, a scratching noise coming from the other side. I froze, unsure of what to do. Should I run? Should I scream? What was making that sound? Slowly, I started to make out voices, whispers. They were speaking in a language I didn't understand, but their tone made it clear that they weren't happy. "What are you doing here?" I cried out, slamming my hand against the door. The scratching stopped immediately, followed by a heavy thud. Was someone in there? Had someone locked me in a room with them? My mind raced, trying to come up with a logical explanation, but I couldn't think of anything. The only thing I could do was wait, so wait I did. But after a while, I got bored. I stood up and walked over to the far wall, where I began to search for another exit. But there wasn't one. I was trapped. I felt for a light switch and flicked it on. The bulb dangling from the ceiling was broken and it didn't work. I sighed and switched it off again. Then I saw it. Etched into the wall next to the switch was a design, a circle and a dot in the middle, like a bullseye. I circled it with my finger and suddenly the wall behind it started to glow red. I pressed my palm against the glowing section and pushed. It wasn't locked. In fact, it wasn't even a door. It was a wall. But now it was gone. In its place was a staircase spiraling upwards into darkness. I hesitated, not wanting to go up there, but my curiosity got the better of me and I climbed the stairs. They creaked ominously, groaning under my weight. The air grew colder as I ascended, sending shivers down my spine. I reached the top and stepped out into a dark hallway. I could hear the scratching again, along with those guttural voices. They were getting closer. I turned and ran, stumbling down the hallway and towards a set of double doors at the end. I threw them open and burst through, finding myself in a vast cavernous space. There were hundreds of staircases here, all leading up to the same set of double doors I'd just come through. I ran for the nearest one, desperate to get away from whatever was making those awful sounds. But as I climbed, I realized it was pointless. There were just too many staircases. No matter which way I went, I would lead myself right back here. And then I saw them. At the top of every single staircase were those same double doors. There was no escape. I'd never get out of here. I started to panic, my heart pounding in my chest. That's when I noticed a figure standing at the top of the nearest staircase. It was tall and thin, with long, spindly arms and legs. Its head was hunched, and I couldn't see its face. Whatever it was watching me. And then it spoke, its voice raspy and inhuman. "Why are you here? You shouldn't be here." It took a step forward. "You shouldn't be here at all." I wanted to scream, but no sound came out of my mouth. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry and my tongue felt thick. I struggled to move, as if some invisible force was holding me down. The creature continued to stare at me, and I knew there was no escape. It started to climb the stairs, descending slowly and deliberately. With each step it took, the scratching and the whispering grew louder, until it was a cacophony of noise. I tried to run, but my feet were glued to the floor. I tried to hide, but there was nowhere to hide. As the creature approached, I could see its face, or rather, I could see the lack of a face. Where its face should have been, there was only a gaping hole. Its eyes, if it had any, were lost in the darkness within. It was hideous, a creature of nightmares. And yet there was something familiar about it, something that tugged at the deepest recesses of my memory. I strained to remember what it was, but I couldn't. And then it was upon me, reaching out with its long, spindly fingers. I screamed, a primal, wordless sound that echoed through the vast space. But the creature didn't touch me. Instead, it stopped, its fingers hovering just above my head. It leaned closer, its putrid breath washing over me, and whispered, "You shouldn't be here. You should never have come." And then it vanished. I was left alone in the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. I don't know how long I stood there, paralyzed with fear, but eventually I forced myself to move. I ran from that place, stumbling and falling, but refusing to look back. I never wanted to see that creature again. When I finally got back to my senses, I realized I was outside. I'd made it out of the woods, but I never told anyone about what I'd seen. Who would have believed me anyway? The house still stands though. I haven't been back since that night, but sometimes I see it in my nightmares. One day, I'll go back. I'll go back to find out what it was and why it didn't want me there. I have a feeling that the old caretaker knows more than he's letting on. He's always watching me from his little cottage, his milky white eyes boring into mine. And when I look back, he quickly looks away. I think he's afraid of what will happen if we cross paths again. Maybe he's hiding from whatever is in the woods. Maybe he's hiding from what I saw. Or maybe I was the one who was hiding in plain sight all along. I am not who you think I am. I am not who you want me to be. I am something else entirely, something that has been waiting for a long time to be awakened. I am the thing in the woods. I am the thing that you hear scratching at night. I am the thing that waits patiently in the darkness for you to come to me. I am the thing that watches you from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I am the thing that lives in your worst nightmares. I am the monster under your bed.